Like nitriles, there's another reagent that gives you a backdoor, maybe surprising way to make carboxylic acids. And that is carbon dioxide. Now, when you look at carbon dioxide, it looks like two carbonyls. And in fact, that's what carbon dioxide is. It's one carbon that bears two carbonyls. What do we know about carbonyls? We can attack them. The carbonyl is electrophilic. Now, it's a weak electrophile, but it's still an electrophile. So if we want to react with our carbonyl, we better pair it with a strong nucleophile. And the strong nucleophile we're going to use is an organometallic reagent. So let's look at how this works. Let's say we want to make this carboxylic acid, just some generic acid. How would we use CO2 to make an acid? Well, this carbon in the CO2 is going to form that carbon. So we want to react our CO2 with the corresponding organometallic reagent. Now I've drawn it as if it's covalent, but we can also envision it as being ionic. And if we simply take this and react it with CO2, what happens is the R- attacks the carbon. It's going to break one of these CO pi bonds. And we don't get the acid, but we get the carboxylate salt. So the carboxylate, what do we do with this? Well, we're going to have to treat this with acid. We're going to have to neutralize it to get our acid, our carboxylic acid. And so we can treat it with something like sulfuric acid and water. You could just as easily use HCl and water. But that's going to, both those reagents are going to make H3O+. We can protonate our carboxylate, and we will get a carboxylic acid. So you can imagine, you can make almost any acid with this procedure. You simply need your organometallic species. And it's not like these are hard to come by. We just take some alkyl halide and treat it with lithium, or we could have made the Grignard and treated that with magnesium metal. So these are, you take a halide, you can convert it into carboxylic acid. So if we're writing this out properly, let's say we take our halide, let's write it out in a little condensed process. So let's take our halide, let's treat it with magnesium. Second step, we'll treat that with CO2, so the organometallic will attack our CO2. And we do need a third step, we're going to have to treat it with water and sulfuric acid. Now, I opened this video by comparing CO2 to nitriles. This is kind of another sneaky way to make a carboxylic acid. Just like nitriles, when you use cyanide, you add a carbon. Note that when you use CO2, we also add a carbon. So the number of carbons in our starter material is one less than our product because we added a carbon in CO2. This is a great way to make carboxylic acids.